yet another alleged Israeli airstrike in Syria overnight, the fourth such attack on government-held areas of the war-torn country in less than a week. According to Syrian state media, 2 civilians were killed in the strike on Damascus. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reporting Israel fired barrages of missiles targeting military areas controlled by Iran-backed groups and regime air defense. The Monitor also reporting an unknown number of Iran-backed fighters were also killed. While Israel rarely comments on the strikes it carries out on Syria, it's widely believed Jerusalem is behind hundreds of airstrikes in Syria with the goal to deter Iranian entrenchment. And joining me now is Colonel in the Reserves Olivier Rafowicz, Senior Security and Military Consultant and Fellow at the Jerusalem Institute of Strategy and Security. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Good morning.
What more can you tell us about this strike in Syria last night?
It's the first time that Israel is striking Iranian targets in Syria. Also maybe this time also Hezbollah target in Damascus and close to Damascus. It's a policy in order to prevent Iran to really settle, militarily speaking, in Syrian soil, and Israel will continue to strike whatever it's needed to do it.
And as you mentioned, 4 strikes in just 1 week. What's prompting Israel to boost its strikes in Syria?
The reason is Iran. Iran is actually accelerating his willingness to really reinforce, to strengthen its forces on Syria, and we see a general clear policy from Tehran to strengthen Iranian facilities, military installations all over, and there is a real policy from Iran to threaten Israel, and Israel will not let Iran to do so.
I want to ask you, how concerning are the new geopolitical alliances happening in the Middle East for Israel and for Jerusalem specifically?
That's maybe the key question, and I'm very happy that you ask this question. I think we are facing, I would define a tectonic change in the Middle East. You know, we here in Israel, we are very busy with the judicial reform and demonstrations. We talk about internal political issues. But at the same time, the Middle East is totally changing its face. Saudis are now getting close to Iran. Egypt is resuming ties with Syria.
Right.
Altogether, I mean, this change around us means that there is a kind of revolution in the Middle East, and we have to be aware, because we are going to feel impact and I would say consequences from these changes.
Olivier, stay with me. I want to get your take on a different story now. The U.S. military carried out an operation that killed a senior Islamic State leader in Syria on Monday. U.S. Central Command Forces released a statement early this morning with the details of the unilateral strikes. Khalid Aid Ahmad al-Jubari was responsible for planning Islamic State attacks in Europe and developed the leadership structure for ISIS. No civilians were reportedly killed or injured in that attack. The statement also noted that although the terror organization has been degraded, ISIS continues to threaten the Middle East and beyond. Olivier, how large is ISIS's presence in the Middle East?
It is bigger than we thought, because even if we succeeded to destroy the main core of ISIS, the ideology is still alive, and we see now a kind of renewal of new forces and new people joining ISIS all over, mostly in Iraq, but also in Syria. And we'd like to say that the Americans are maybe now the only state in the world fighting clearly ISIS, like it was the case on Monday. It was a very good news that we heard this morning. But we have to be concerned, because ISIS is not dead, and we are going to see more ISIS activities in the next months. So
do you expect a resurgency of ISIS?
Yes. Yes, because again, I repeat, the ideology of ISIS is not dead. And many youngsters in Europe, in the world, are again joining ISIS by internet, by many digital means. And ISIS is still willing to strengthen its force. And that's why the American and CENTCOM action was a very good thing to do.
Absolutely, and its influence on other terror organizations within the Middle East is also affecting us right here in Israel. The IDF responded to a shooting that targeted a northern Israeli town Monday evening with an offshoot at the Islamic Jihad terror group claiming responsibility for the attack. There were no casualties, and Israeli troops were scanning the area around kibbutz Ma'ale Gilboa, where several homes incurred damage from bullets. Footage published by the Islamic Jihad terror group appears to show assailants opening fire at the Israeli town that sits near the Green Line border with the West Bank, seemingly from behind the security barrier. Olivier, what are you hearing from defense officials on this incident?
That's very worrisome. It's the first time, really, that the terrorists are actually targeting and shooting from West Bank area into Israel village, even if it's very close to the fence. But it shows a change of tactics, maybe a change of strategy from terrorist Palestinian groups. And we have to take this situation very seriously, even if in this case no one was hurt or wounded. But the fact that the terrorists from Islamic Jihad groups and Fatah together prepared a video and now are trying to influence by video means and by digital means youngsters and other people in the area during the Ramadan is a very worrisome signal, and the military and the Shabak are actually dealing with that in order to find the terrorist behind this attack. Again, a very serious attack, in spite of the fact that no one was wounded.
And you mentioned Ramadan earlier. So far, we've had a somewhat quiet period. It's usually a catalyst for violence between Palestinians and Israelis. Do you expect that to change? Do you expect that to become worse in the next few weeks?
For the time being, like you just mentioned, it's quite calm, because there is also Egyptian and Jordanian involvement in these situations. They talk with the Palestinians from both sides, Hamas and Fatah, to make the situation calm. But we have to be aware that something can happen suddenly and can change everything. So for the time being, there is a kind of, I would say, modus operandi in a good direction. But let's say we have to be no euphoria and no too much optimism. We have to be, I would say, very rational and hope that it will be okay for the next days.
And as we mentioned, Islamic Jihad claims this incident last night. Is Islamic Jihad becoming with Fatah?
Yeah.
Are they becoming more confident in the West Bank and Gaza? We know that they consistently launch rockets, sometimes even without Hamas's approval. But in the West Bank, we are seeing an increase in attacks on their behalf.
Yeah. Also, in this case, let's not forget that Islamic Jihad groups is directly connected to Iran. So the fact that now they are actually more and more effective, or trying to show more activity, maybe it's a direct sign or direct, I would say, initiative from Tehran in order to activate Islamic Jihad against Israel. So it's also a very worrisome case in this situation in the north part of the West Bank against the Israeli village.
Colonel in the Reserves, Olivier Rafowicz, thank you very much for your insight today.